This is Andrew Twidwell, owner of ABT Plumbing, Electric, Heat and Air. Once again with the show You Got This. It's a show of DIY do's and don'ts. And I'm sitting here in our conference room in Auburn with DeeDee Vieira, who helps run our HVAC department. And I've got Rosalie Brown in LA, our producer and questionnaire extraordinaire, I guess. I don't know. I put together a great questionnaire for us for the show. So yeah, we didn't talk about what we were going to talk about other than what we're going to talk about in the main body of the show. But I don't know what's been going on. I know we got some rain coming. I know when this show airs on Friday, it'll be probably raining. And I know I got some rain on Wednesday. Didn't rain here, but it rained down. I was visiting some family down the bay, and it was raining a little bit down there. Well, yeah, we're getting the weather's changing.
Bring it.
It's getting cooler, and yeah, I had to fix my own furnace the other day, and yeah, somehow my furnace turned off. A switch turned off in my furnace, and I don't know how it turned off.
How weird is that?
A manual toggle switch turned off. Really weird. Like behind a panel that I had to unscrew, somehow the switch was turned off.
Poltergeist.
Swear to yeah. So I had him in something like a ghost or something. Yep. Really weird. Because it worked the night before, and then I turned it on in the morning and it didn't work. And then I went in and I started fiddling with it. And it wasn't anything obvious when I was looking at it, so I had to leave it for a couple of days and came back. It's not something we live with every day. And then I took it apart yesterday, and all of a sudden I'm like, why is this switch off? Flipped the switch and the system came on.
Wow.
I was ready to pull the whole unit and start all over. I mean, I was so I staring at it for hours, like, what the heck is going on? And all of a sudden, like, why is this random switch off? And it's weird, like, okay, actually, this kind of segues. Yeah. So I can't tell you how many times I've fixed stuff like that, where, you know, for a DIY type of thing, this is good too. Like, I've found sometimes during diagnosis, it's not a matter of taking things apart. It's a matter of just stepping back and staring at it for about 10 or 15 minutes or longer sometimes. I know I had a furnace that here in Grass Valley that one of our technicians was out and repaired it a couple times, and it kept going out. And so finally, like, I'm just going to go check it out. So I went and checked it out. And I just stared at it for a while, and I found a loose connector that was on. It was on the spade. It was a spade connector. And it was on the spade, but it wasn't on all the way. And it was one of those intermittent things. So the fan would come on and kind of shake it loose, and it would work, or it would stop working, and then it would start working again. And it was literally just staring at it and noticing that it was on there. Yeah. But it wasn't all the way set. So at some point, somebody had messed with it. I don't know if it was our guy or if it was another guy. I don't know. But literally just the act of sitting there and looking and seeing if there's anything out of place, that's what solved the problem. Because going through the diagnostic, since it was an intermittent kind of issue, it was really difficult to find, because every time I showed up, the thing was actually working. Right. So trying to figure it out. And sure enough, just put that on there, and then never heard back from the customer, and they ended up selling the property. So,
well, that's kind of weird, because we literally had a job, which we'll talk about rodent issues right now later, but where you could see, it looks like it was a rat or a squirrel, like, ran up through the furnace.
Oh yeah.
And one of its feet, like, you see a little foot mark, hit a wire and just loosened the wire. Like, same thing. It looked attached, but then you could totally see, like, oh no, that's not attached. Right. But then you could see like a little foot mark in the thing. So yeah,
and that's one of those things where, you know, going through the motions of the diagnosing and following the path of electricity, sometimes it'll show up, but sometimes it'll show up as working because it's an intermittent issue, and then but if you really stare at it for a while, it's just a little askew, it's a little off, something is not right.
Yep.
And not 9 times out of 10, I am shocked at how often that has helped me solve an issue that no one else was able to figure out.
Yeah.
Just spending an extra 15, 20 minutes staring at it and trying to clear my mind, trying not to think about what I'm going to do next or what should be happening or what shouldn't be happening, but really just coming in with an open mindset and staring at it.
And what looks out of place.
Yeah.
You know, it's just kind of, where's Waldo? Like, okay, does anything look weird here?
Right.
You know? Yeah.
That happened. Before we got married, we spent 6 months in Mexico driving around in a motorhome. Granted, this is 1995, much different country back then.
And she still married you.
She still married me, and yeah, we're 28 years. We're doing our 28. We just had our 28th anniversary. In any event, the motorhome, it was an old 76 Dodge, and we were poor. I bought it for $5,000, and we're tripping around. Had a 360 motor in it, and all of a sudden we're trying to climb hills, and it just wouldn't climb. And I'm like, oh gosh, am I going to have to rebuild the carburetor? What's going on? And I opened the cowl. It was one of those. It was a C-Class.
Yeah.
So it was a van, right? So it had the cowl on the front, and I pulled that out, and we're literally on the side of the road in the highlands of Mexico, mainland, and like trying to figure out why we couldn't climb hills anymore. And I'm staring at it, and I'm thinking the worst, like we're gonna have to call a tow truck or something like that. And I stared at it for a while, and then I noticed there was a bunch of debris in the fuel filter.
Oh my God.
And it was literally just me pulling it was clogged because it was an old van. So either, just stuff migrated from the gas tank, or I got bad gas somewhere. It's Mexico. You never know what you're going to get, especially back, 25 years ago, more than that, almost 30 years ago. Never know what you're going to get. But it's just the simple fact of staring at it. And I'm by no means an auto mechanic. But I was able to solve the problem, and we happened to have an extra filter, put it in, drove on, and kept going. So
I would have freaked out.
Yeah.
I'd be like, no, I'm in the middle of nowhere.
We lost the tire because, of course, we were poor. My father gave us some tires, and he was poor as well. And they were retreads.
Oh, no.
And we're driving through Baja, and it was one of those hot days, and it separated. And the tread separated, took out the gas line underneath that supplied the range. And this is Baja. So the road, if anybody's driven one in Baja, there are no shoulders.
No.
And the lanes are about 10 feet wide. They're
goat trails.
They're barely wide enough for a semi, right? And I had nowhere to pull it off because there was sand. And meanwhile, I've got this gas line that's wrapped up towards the tire, and I've got this tire, and I got to replace it. So we're literally in the middle of the freeway, and it's hot. I'm laying on the ground. Fortunately, I brought a cordless sawzall, so I cut the gas line, turned the gas off, cut the gas line. We already had the gas off, but I cut the gas line and then pulled and replaced the tire. But yeah, that was a fun day. We had a few of those, getting stuck multiple times. Oh, to be young.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
I don't know. I keep trying to talk to my wife about doing that again, but no, she's not going to do that. Anyway, okay, yeah, we're on that. We're in the mode. My producer's saying, "Move on, move on."
You're having fun, Rosalie.
Staring at things, can't help. All right, so why did you guys come here? So you came here to hear about. Well, that was actually a good thing, a good way to figure out things. Sometimes it's just staring at it. You don't even necessarily need to know how to fix it. Sometimes just staring at it and looking at it. And if something looks not right, a lot of times there's a reason for it not looking right, and you can fix the problem. Even though you're not even a HVAC technician or electrician or plumber, sometimes it just works that way. But anyway, we're here to talk about HVAC. So it's, we're getting into wintertime. Hasn't quite hit yet, but it's cooling off, definitely. What are some things that we should tell our listeners out there they should be doing?
Well, something that we are coming across a lot right now, issues. One, dirty filters, always an issue. We talk about it every show, but we are coming across many homeowners that have not changed filters in months and or years.
Or ever.
Right, or ever. So please, please, please change your filter.
And what are some symptoms of an unclean filter where we're getting called out for it? You notice minor things like the efficiency goes down or not as good airflow, but what precipitates the call for a technician to come out because of a clogged air filter?
Oftentimes it will be that they're getting cold air and or it just won't turn on because it's so clogged, it's tripping safety switches. So
that's one thing I want to get across, because we've literally had furnaces that stop working, because there are safety switches in these things
Yeah.
that if there's not enough airflow, it's not cooling the heat exchanger, and it's going to crack that heat exchanger. So it shuts down. It's just like, nope. And it will literally cause you to call a service technician to come out and, granted, our diagnostic is relatively inexpensive. It's only $79. But then all we're really going to be telling you is, you need to replace your filter.
Yeah.
Check that first. If you're having some issues with your furnace, check that furnace filter. If you haven't checked it or cleaned it within the last 30 days to 90 days, you should really, do something about that.
Yeah. Also make sure your registers are open, because a lot of people, they will close registers, or even accidentally. We had a customer who was vacuuming and hit 2 of her registers with a vacuum cleaner, and it closed them. She didn't even know.
Right.
So, and that can cause a furnace to shut down as well.
Yeah.
It's getting back pressure.
Yeah.
And
you're not saving any energy. You're not saving any money by closing those ducts, those registers.
And the rodent issue right now is really brutal. Squirrels, rats, mice, they're all getting prepared for winter as well.
Yeah.
So, not only checking crawl spaces, attics, cupboards, even pull like drawers out all the way, see if there's any little turds in the back of the drawers. And if you have cars that are sitting around, or a boat or something, maybe double check and make sure there's no remnants of anything inside the engine. Even my own work truck last week, I had acorns on the top of the engine block.
Oh, shit.
Vacuumed them out, and it happened in 24 hours. I mean, I parked when I got home from work.
Yeah.
The next morning, I turned the truck on. I was sitting there for a second. I started smelling something, and I was like, what is that?
I was toasting acorns.
Yeah. And so I turned it off, and I popped the hood, and there was little 5 acorns roasting on the top of my engine. So I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So just check all those things. And if you don't have someone, you're not physically able to check those things.
Or you don't like crawling underneath your house.
Yeah. Maybe call a neighbor or a friend or a relative, because this is the time of year where they're really starting to get active.
Or you can call 530-230-9092, 530-230-90492. And what is our special right now for HVAC tune-up and inspection? $49. $49. I think it's $49.
Is it?
Yeah. $49. We'll come out and do it for you, so you don't have to climb underneath your house. For me, $49, that's a deal. I would much rather spend $49 than actually climb underneath my house. At this point in my life, at 56, I avoid going on my roof. I avoid going underneath my house. I will go underneath the cabinet, but I'm not climbing on my roof, and if I don't have to, and I'm not, for $50, I will pay somebody $50 to do that for me. It's worth it. I don't know about you, but I know my deductible is for medical is close to $7,000. So, if I can spend $50 to avoid a $7,000 deductible, that's pretty good return on investment, right?
Yeah.
I do have one friend that was cleaning his gutters and broke his back and almost died. Fell 3 stories, and just because he wanted to save some money and clean his own gutters. So I always think about that, and he was in his 50s.
Yeah, that's brutal.
And it just takes one fall. So anyway, and it, climbing underneath the house. I've also had friends that have gotten shocked crawling underneath houses, and my father had a friend that actually died pushing pipe through through an attic and hit a wire and electrocuted him, and he was all by himself for a couple of days, and no one found him.
That's awful.
Yeah. Anyway,
that's brutal.
What are some other things so replace filters, check for things. And if you do have a rodent issue, rodents are one of those things that they're more than just a pest. They can do damage to our house. They can eat your electrical wiring. They can eat their way and work their way into your furnace ducts. They can, and air conditioning ducts. They can get into your car. And I was reading about, we're using a lot of soy-based rubbers now in automobiles, and they like the taste of it, and it's actually feeds them. So they're using soy oil as opposed to petroleum products, and so they actually taste like something. Actually, it's a food product for them, so they will eat the hoses inside your car. If you have a rodent issue, get a pest control guy out there, get a pest control company out there to take care of the rodent issue, because it can cost you tens of thousands of dollars, not just hundreds, tens of thousands of dollars from this little rodent. So yeah, you definitely want to get somebody out there to take care of it for you. If you see any kind of signs, especially in the furnace, or in the house,
or you get a funky smell, because also you might check your registers every now and again. Just look down, see if you see any fiberglass or insulation in there, because once rodents get into your ductwork, they will run it like a habit trail, and they will make nests within there, but they're also defecating throughout the whole system, and you're breathing that in every time you turn your system on. They
don't have a little kitty box or rat box that they go to, a litter box. They literally just, as they're running around, they just do it on everything.
Yep.
It's nasty. We've seen it. I mean, that's the thing. Like, we are not foreign to this. We've seen the habit trails. We've seen the raccoons, we've seen the rodents, we've seen the rats and the mice that are inside the ductwork. Here's another good one.
Verifying your thermostat. So where you want to have it set to be comfortable, check and see if it's programmable. If you are able to program it, that's a great way to keep it efficient and keep your costs down. Not to set large degrees in temperature difference. If you can kind of keep it in the 4 to 5 degree range, you're better off. Otherwise, it's taking a lot more energy to heat your home back up. If you set it at 61 degrees and you want it to be 71 degrees, it's going to take a lot of fuel to get it to there. Versus,
you're not just heating the air inside your house, you're also heating the objects inside your house. So once those objects, your couch, your countertops, everything starts to get down 10 degrees or lower, it takes a long time to get the ambient temperature of those items back up.
Yeah.
So we kind of forget that. We think it's just a forced air system, but it's actually heating the objects in your house. And once they get cold, it takes a lot of energy to warm them back up.
Yeah.
They're literally heat sinks.
Yep. And check batteries. Check batteries. If your thermostat takes batteries, now's the time to change them. Check batteries in your carbon monoxide detectors, smoke detectors. It's just a good time to do kind of all that stuff right now.
Yeah, and that's a funny story about programmable thermostats. We had a programmable thermostat, and I set the programmable thermostat in our house for my schedule, not my wife's schedule. She was not pleased with that. So she just left it because, she was a stay-at-home mom. She didn't really have a schedule. She didn't have a work life. So if you have no work schedule, like you're not out of the house, I don't even know if programmable stats, they're not going to really save you anything unless you've got, except for going to bed. If you have a regular time you're going to bed, they can save you a little bit of money. But, during the day, if you're around the house, we just stopped using the programmable feature.
Yeah, I just do manual. But, if there's someone at home now, so that's why I do manual. But if we were gone, we would set it as a program.
Right.
Probably.
And something to think about is a Wi-Fi stat. Now that, oh my God, that's a freaking game changer. A Wi-Fi stat that's hooked up to your internal network inside the house, you can actually monitor the temperature of your house when you're not home. So those times that, you go away, like, oh, darn, did I remember to turn off the coffee pot or whatever? Did I remember to turn the thermostat down? Meanwhile, you're off in Hawaii and it's 40 degrees, 30 degrees here, and you're heating your house for 2 weeks and you got an extra $100 bill for heating a house that's not even occupied.
Yeah.
If you had a Wi-Fi stat, you can actually just turn it down remotely. And I know, when we were, when the kids were younger and we would go up on the weekends, go skiing, we turn the thermostat down because we'd be gone all day long. And then on the way home, I would just turn it back up.
Yep.
And by the time we got home, I turned it on about an hour before we got home or 2 hours before we got home. And the house would be nice and warm and all the objects inside the house would be nice and warm. It was those things. Oh, and it's, it's heaven. It's one of those things. It's not even I don't even think it's a luxury anymore. It's a necessity for me. I have to have a Wi-Fi thermostat. I love those things. They're amazing.
Yes.
We got time for a couple little more things. Do you want to?
Oh yeah. Check around the seals of door jambs, exit doors, sliding glass doors, windows, for any kind of, breezes coming through. As houses age, rubber can contract and get hard and brittle. So you might start getting some air movement from the outdoors in. So anything you can do to seal that up. There are kits you can get at your local hardware store and seal around. We had to do that at our old house.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you could stand there and watch your hair move. Like, it was pretty bad.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, but, cold is just the absence of heat. So what's happening is you're actually heating the outside when you've got cracks. It's literally you're just heating the outside. So do you want to heat up your yard with your indoor air? No, not really. Or you want to heat up your crawl space? Yeah.
And now's a good time also, like Andrew was saying, have an inspection done, especially if crawl space is where your ductwork is at. We can have a technician come over and make sure everything's connected, because if a cat or a larger animal gets in there and can knock one of your ducts off, you're just heating the underneath of your house.
And I can't tell you how many times we've seen that. I mean, it happens all the time.
Yeah.
Attics or crawl spaces being heated and cooled because of ductwork that's come loose or that's gotten chewed up. The majority of the ducts that we use up here, it's literally just two plastic membranes with fiberglass insulation in between it. So it's essentially a plastic bag. So it doesn't take a lot, and it's got a wire in there to hold its form. So it doesn't take a lot for an animal to get in there.
No.
And once they find a way in there, they're in heaven, because it's warm and it's cozy and it's, a nice cool breeze in the summertime and nice warm air in the wintertime. They're just stoked. Yeah. So it doesn't take much for them. So we don't have a lot of hard metal ducting up in our area. It's mainly the flex duct.
Yeah, and if you are in our area and you live like up Highway 20, North San Juan area, Scotts Flat Lake, now's the time of year. Bears will actually try to get underneath the house, and they will also just shred ductwork and just pull it down to make space for themselves. So just a good time of year to just get everything inspected.
We've seen that too. So
had a bear in my house, so yeah.
Yeah, you actually she had a bear in her house up on Banner Mountain.
Yep.
This is a good one. We got a little time on this one. I think that's huge. It's not something that we do.
Oh, yes, adding insulation. So like my own house, I need new insulation in the attic. If you're able to add just a couple battens of insulation to areas that it looks pretty beat down or it's gotten really crumbly, we highly recommend that. Under houses, I've seen where now customers are adding insulation in between the joists.
Yeah.
Underneath. So that can really cut down on costs as well for heating and cooling.
Yeah. And it's relative. The return on investment on insulating, especially if you've got a house that is uninsulated on the floor, is, you're talking a couple of years. You're not talking decades. It's pretty quick.
Yeah.
And not to mention the fact that it's going to be a lot more pleasant to live in. You're going to be a lot more comfortable. So there's an added bonus of just comfort, not only just saving energy. And saving money on your PG&E bill or your SMUD bill. And let's close with this. I'm just going to close with this one.
Sure.
Test carbon monoxide detectors to ensure that they're functioning properly. Replace batteries if needed, and consider upgrading to newer models. If you are replacing batteries and things, the price of batteries these days, I mean, you're going to spend $2 or $3 on a 9-volt battery, and you do that every year. For the price of, you can buy a brand new 10-year battery lifespan smoke detector, carbon monoxide detector. I think they're like $30 or $40.
Yeah.
And you don't have to worry about them. They've got a lithium battery in there that's going to last 10 years, so you just don't have to deal with them. I would just replace them as opposed to replacing the batteries. Things get old. If it's that old, we haven't really been using those for a while. Just get rid of them, put new ones in. With that, if you do need any plumbing, electrical, heating, and air work, we do have a $49 HVAC inspection. We've got a $49 electrical inspection. We've got a $49 plumbing, water heater flush, and plumbing inspection, and a $97 drain cleaning, or you don't get charged if we don't clear it. So those are our specials right now. You can reach us at 530-230-9092. That number again, 530-230-9092. Or you can find us on the web at abtplumbing.com. Thanks for listening to us, and we'll catch you next week. Bye.